Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay guys, so let me know in the comments if you guys can hear. Let me know if the sound's coming through clear. Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, so is the sound working? Is the sound on? Okay, so excellent. Right, so let's start then the questions. So I think today what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer some questions. Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, thank you very much. Kitten is very good, it's starting to grow now, it's almost becoming a cat. Bahruddin wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer some questions on the Curious Cat and then answer some questions on the screen. I think a lot of people are kind of like waiting for their questions to be answered. And then, so last week, guess how much questions we had? On Curious Cat, it was over 100 questions. Yeah, so no wonder, you know, it took so long. So inshallah, inshallah, there are less questions today. And I'm gonna, some of the questions that are kind of repeated all the time, I'm just gonna skip through them. Okay, so I think it's from here then. Alright, so Alhamdulillah, MP, I'm very good, thank you very much. So like I said, I'm going to answer some questions on Curious Cat and some questions on okay, so let's start there. Right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So you can ask questions here if you want. You can ask them on the Curious Cat. So if someone can just put the link up for the Curious Cat one, then people will find it easy, inshallah. Okay, so any advice on reading? How can a person? 1 second, let me just stop the screen from going off. Okay, so any advice on reading? How can a person remember what he reads? Should he highlight and take side notes? So this obviously would differ from person to person, right? So you guys can in the comments put how you guys find it easy to memorize stuff in books. Well, I'll tell you how I find it easy to learn stuff that I read in books. So first of all, what I tend to do is I write a lot in the books, right? So I'll make annotations, and I usually will enjoy reading books on my iPad. So on my iPad, reading my iPad, and then because I can, write in different colors, I can edit it, I can take pictures of it, I can store certain things as well away. So therefore, it makes it easier for me. So that's how I kind of remember stuff. Yeah. So I used to in the past try to remember as much as I can from the book, and that wasn't a very good idea, because what that used to do was basically it kind of made me forget a lot of stuff. So what I tend to do now is I only try to remember like 1 or 2 things at most on a page. All right. So if I want to learn something on a page, I'll just highlight 1 or 2 important things, and the others I'll ignore. Right. So that's how I do it. What's the most authentic book on Seerah in Arabic and English? See, the thing with Seerah is that Seerah does not follow the same rules as Hadith. So Hadith has its own strict usul, principles, by which the Hadith are tested whether they're authentic or not. And as for Seerah is actually a very you can say lenient. The scholars are extremely lenient in accepting Seerah narrations. So and that's fine. That's nothing wrong with that at all. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, even in his book, when he talks about Seerah, he accepts narrators that he doesn't accept in the chapters of Ahkam, right? So wudu, salat, zakat. Muhammad bin Ishaq, for example, he doesn't accept him, but in Seerah he accepts him, right? So this is why a lot of people are looking for what's the most authentic thing in Seerah. The most authentic thing in Seerah is the Quran. Quran is the most authentic thing in Seerah. And then, after that, it's the books of Hadith, like Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, etc. And besides that, I think Seerah ibn Hisham is very good. Yeah, Seerah ibn Hisham is one of the authentic ones. Tabaqat ibn Sa'ad is considered to be very good. It's not like as authentic as Bukhari, but it's very good. Rahiq al-Makhtum is good. Zad al-Ma'ad ibn Qayyim is good. But again, like I said, we have to understand that Seerah doesn't follow the same strict principles for that. Okay, so let's answer one of your questions on the side now. Okay, you or someone should put timestamps for main questions in a pinned comment in the comments section so people can refer back to them easily. Yeah, I mean, if someone could do that, that would be excellent. I mean, anyone could do that. If someone has time and they can go through my question answers and they can just timestamp and put in the comments, that'd be excellent. If you have a cold or flu, can you have mints that contain gelatin? I mean, if there's anything else available, then you can't. So if there's something else available, like if there's an alternative that does not contain gelatin, then you can't eat those gelatin ones. So you don't need to keep answering repeat questions. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Hamida, mashallah. What's the difference between khamr and other drinks in the Hanafi madhab? According to the Hanafi madhab, the intoxicants are haram. All intoxicants are haram, right? Okay. Difference is that intoxicants that are made from grapes and dates, they call that, Abu Hanifa calls it khamr. That is absolutely haram. One drop of it is haram. Whether it makes you intoxicated or not is haram. It's filthy. If it goes on your clothes, you gotta wash your clothes, etc. But any other intoxicating drink that's not made from grapes or dates, it's haram to consume, yeah, if it intoxicates you, but it won't have the same rulings as grapes and dates. So it doesn't make your clothes impure, and it can be used for like in perfumes and things like that, because you're not consuming it. That's according to Abu Hanifa. His students don't agree with him. His students, they are on the opinion of the Shafis and Malikis on this one. They say all intoxicants all fall under khamr. Okay, let's go to Curious Cat then. You mentioned about the community needs to provide counselling, not necessarily the masjids, but wasn't the Prophet ﷺ's mosque a hub for community where many activities took place? So shouldn't counselling, youth club, etc. be provided by the masjid? Okay, so I think a lot of people get confused with what the purpose of the masjid is. The purpose of the masjid it's not necessarily a hub. The purpose of the masjid, like the Quran mentions, is the worship of Allah. Yeah. إنما يعمر مساجد الله من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وقام الصلاة, etc. So the purpose of the masjid is ibadatullah ta'ala. This is what the purpose has been, and it's always been that case, right? Scholars in the past have kind of like had difference of opinion regarding what other things can be done in the masjid. Like, can you have a judicial system run in the masjid? Like, can you have a judge sitting there and he gives laws? Some of the scholars say yes. The thing is the Prophet ﷺ's time, lots of things took place in the masjid because there wasn't anywhere else. They couldn't afford anywhere else for things to take place. When Umar radiallahu anhu's time came, Umar radiallahu anhu began to separate the masjid. So he made an adjacent veranda for poetry. He stopped allowing poetry in the masjid, and he had a separate section for it, and he used to call it the butayha. And if you want to do poetry, he said, go over there and don't do it in the mosque. Yeah, so masjid now became central to ibadah. This is what it became central to, and they began to designate other areas in the community for everything else, like buying and selling was not allowed in the masjid, and so forth. So when people say counseling should take place in the masjid, that's not necessarily true. I mean, if there's no other place for counseling, then yes, but otherwise masjid should be kept for things which are purely ibadah based. And you know, in our communities we've got loads of places that you can hire out. You can even build inside the masjid, not in the masjid area where prayer takes place, but the masjid building. You can have other facilities taking place. You can have a gym in the masjid. I mean, nowadays some masjids have gyms in the masjid building, not in the prayer area. They have youth clubs. They have games rooms, and all sorts of things. Okay, is it better to be isolated or mixed with people? How much mixing or staying alone is too much? Again, this kind of question is not really a fiqhy question. This is a common sense question. This is, how much did the Prophet ﷺ used to mix with the people? Yeah, how much did the Sahaba used to mix with the people? So if you read the Seerah, you find that the Prophet ﷺ was a very social person. He would mix with the people. He would meet them. He would greet them. But it's all, you know, if people are going to be wasting your time, then you don't just waste your time with them. So this is a common sense question. I don't think we need fiqh to be able to answer this. So you don't become isolated. Isolation is not good for healthy for a person unless you're going to be doing something productive like research or work or etc. Otherwise, you should be with people regularly, with your family, with your friends. What is the ruling on wearing niqab? Is it based upon urf? So the ruling, I mean, the fuqaha have mentioned that for the woman, she has to cover all her body apart from her face and her hands. So hands and face are not considered to be awrah. They're not considered to be nakedness. However, as time went by, scholars saw that many women were being harassed, right, and kind of attacked, you can say, or even mistreated, inappropriately treated. So the scholars began to encourage women to cover up more, so to cover their face even. So then this became like a fatwa was passed by many scholars about the covering of the face, that women should cover their face, young women, especially if there's going to be a fear of them being attacked on the streets, and stuff like that. So the ruling of the niqab isn't a ruling which is based upon like a strict ruling from the Quran and Sunnah. The ruling from the Quran and Sunnah is cover the entire body apart from the face and hands. But the niqab is considered to be a social fatwa that was later on introduced. Just like many fatwa that are introduced in times can be based upon like later on scholars introduce these. Does the order of reciting surahs, i.e. Surah Field in Quraysh in Nafal and Sunnah need to be followed in all 4 rakats or 2 rakats at a time? No, you don't have to follow these in Nafal. This is only for Farad, and then in Farad this is for Jama'ah, like when the Imam's reciting. The order should be followed. Otherwise in Nafal you don't have to. In Nafal you don't have to. Okay, let's look at some of the questions here you guys have asked. Talk about Salat Tasbih. So Salat Tasbih is, there's 2 narrations regarding Salat Tasbih, which is basically a form of Salat of 4 rakats, and in those 4 rakats you recite Tasbih, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. These 4 things. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. So this is recited in the 4 rakats, but it's recited profusely, like at every stage you recite it. So it's basically like in every rakat you recite it, and every rakat should work out to be about 75 times. So like when you start your salat, you recite it 15 times, and then when you go into ruku 10 times, and get up from ruku 10 times, you go into sajda 10 times, sit up from sajda 10 times, and then you go back into sajda 10 times, and you get up, and then like that. So there's two kind of methods. You can, if you go on Google it, and they'll show you the whole method, right, to follow. But yeah, that's basically the how it is. But like I said, Google it and they'll show you the exact method. There's two methods. And both of them are fine to recite. And it works out to be 75 in each rakat. Okay. Next one. Asad Sabir, full stop. MashaAllah. Okay, what is the best way to memorize Seerah? I mean, you don't have to memorize Seerah, but if you're interested in memorizing Seerah, it would maybe like a timeline or something. Yeah, you can make a timeline. If you actually Google it, some people have made beautiful timelines for Seerah, and you can just follow that. And then when you learn Seerah, as you go through, you can just like memorize that. I know there's also one where the guy, what he's done is made like a clock, like a 24-hour clock, and then he's used 23 hours for the 23 years of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And then each like hour, he's kind of put something there. This happened in this year, this happened this year, this happened this year. The main thing you want to kind of, I mean, in Seerah, the main thing that you want to focus on is the lessons that can be learnt from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Those are the main kind of motivation. Seerah should be motivational rather than something which is fiqh based. Okay. If one purchase stock with intention of selling, does one have to add its price with nisab when his year comes to the end if the year didn't pass on the stock? If one purchase stock with the intention of selling, does one have to add its price with the nisab when his year comes to the end of his year? So basically, at the end of the year, so if say for example I buy anything, I buy a car with the intention that I'm going to sell it off. So it's a buy to sell property. So anything that you buy which is for buy to sell, then when you give zakat on it, you're going to give zakat on the price that you've intended to sell it for. So whatever sale price you're going to be selling it for, that's what you use. And if the item hasn't been priced yet, then you sell it according to its current retail price in the markets. Yeah, that's basically what you do. Okay, let's have a look at this then. Is buying optional breakdown cover allowed? See, optional breakdown cover is in insurance, so technically insurance is not allowed. However, if a person fears that the person will not be able to will find it very difficult because they drive a car a lot, and it's going to be something which is going to cause them a lot of stress, that if their car breaks down and the amount you got to pay to get a recovery truck and all that, then there's possibility of getting it. Yeah, so some of the ulama have allowed for this if a person is going to fear that there's a high chance of their car breaking down in the place and then getting, if basically they drive a lot, there's possibility of getting it. What's the permissibility regarding arcade games such as coin slot machines and claw grab machines? These types of games generally rely on timing, chance and some skill. I mean, it's a game at the end of the day. Yeah, it's a game, and you're kind of like trying to use your skill. So it would be kind of, it's not like a total like gamble, you can say. It's not like a total gamble. And the arcade games, I mean, like if it's a game, you're playing like a car game or a shooting game or a football game, then obviously you're paying for the game, so you're getting a service. That's permissible. But if it's like some sort of a gamble, if it's then that would be considered makruh. Yeah, so if the claw game is a form of a gamble where you're putting money in, and then the chances, the risk of getting something back is very, very low, then no, it's not allowed. It's all based upon on risk. A lot of the arcade games, the ones that you put money in to get more money, or you throw some hoops over some bottles, those are not allowed. Those are, fall under the category of bay al-hasat and bay al-mulamasa. Right, hasat is when you throw a stone in Jahiliyyah, and if it fell on something, you get it, and if it doesn't, you lost your money. So these kind of, because in Islam transactions are based upon a high chance of getting something back, right? Certainty, and this is why you need to have certainty. What is meant by the brother-in-law is death? So it comes in a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said the brother-in-law is death. Now what this means, according to the scholars of hadith, is that when people become very lenient, like when a woman becomes very lenient with her brother-in-law, then what can happen is this can lead to harmful relationships, right? Haram relationships. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he warned people, be very careful, like don't become too lenient with like with the brother-in-law, because they're still non-mahrams, they're still not the mahram. So a person should just be careful, and this could apply to others. And the reason, I mean, any person is harmful if the relationship goes too far. But the brother-in-law is mentioned in explicitly in the hadith because people never used to take it seriously. Yeah. But however, people have to look at situations. Sometimes, you have to go to your in-laws' house and you have to meet, and it's very difficult to have segregation fully. So, there is some scope for interaction there, but a man and a woman should be aware of, the limits. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. How do Hanafis explain the hadith, do not pray witr 3 rakats that resemble the Maghrib? Like I said, I answered this last week as well. There's a narration from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, there's a narration from Ibn Umar, it's in Muwatta, that the witr is, there's narrations that say that the witr is the Maghrib is the witr of the day. Yeah. And like I said, there are other narrations as well that mention that witr witr is 3 rakats. And this is what the Hanafis take. So I mean, with regards to the narration, do not pray witr with 3 rakats that resemble Maghrib. I mean, I can't remember the hadith exactly, the wording of the hadith. So if I can remember the wording of the hadith, I mean, let me go and check it. Let me just go and check the wording of the hadith. Second. Okay, I can't find it now, but I'll have to look for it later. Okay, but like I said, it's been proven that the Prophet ﷺ, he prayed 3 rakats of witr. It's proven that 5 rakats, 7 rakats, 9 rakats. So all of these kind of rakats of witr that he has prayed, this is something that's been established, and Hanafis say that the 3 rakats is actually the strongest out of all of them, that he prayed 3. This is something which is widely accepted. Did the Sahaba reach China? I'm not sure. Why is nail polish a barrier and mehndi not when it comes to wudu? Okay, so basically in wudu, you cannot have on your skin the limbs that you perform wudu with. You can't have a barrier. So mehndi is not a barrier. Mehndi is a dye. It dyes the color of your skin and your nails. So it doesn't create a barrier, like a physical barrier between your body and between the water. Whereas nail varnish does. So if you put nail varnish on, it actually creates a physical barrier. Yeah, that's the difference. Are ihram part of the caps a recent phenomenon? Is there anything to suggest that pious females of the past utilize anything similar? Yeah, so in the past, basically what they would do is the women would lower the scarf from the top of the head. They would lower it over their head so the less of their face could be seen. Yeah, so this was something. And I think I've seen in some fiqh books mentioning of some sort of having they used to have some sort of a thing that used to hang off the niqab, used to hang off it. Yeah, so that's basically what they used to do. They used to lower their kind of scarves. What are the flutes of Dawood? So flutes of Dawood is basically referring to, it's a metaphorical statement, is referring to the voice of Dawood alayhi salam, the vocal cords. So when he would recite, his recitation would be something that would be very beautiful. Yeah, so it was like flutes basically. It was very melodious. Road tax, council tax, etc. charge more if you pay over installments versus paying all in one go. Is this as though you are paying interest if you pay in installments? No. So the ruling in fiqh is basically if the seller gives you two options of buying, like one in cash, you pay all of it now, and one in installments over time, and the one in installments is usually higher, that's fine. It's not riba, it's not interest. It's actually fine as long as you choose which option you want to go for. Yeah, so this wouldn't be riba. Riba has to be something where you are buying something with cash, right? You're buying something with cash, and the cash payment, you're being charged for the cash payment, right? So the return. In this case, you're not buying, you're buying a car, which is a physical, non-monetary item. Okay, let's look at some questions here. Have you done videos on learning fiqh? Yes. If you've seen my YouTube channel, have a look at Quduri. I've done Quduri. I've actually started Kanz. I don't know what you guys think of the new Kanz series. I know the videos are not going to be very long. There's going to be about 10-15 minutes, because I think a lot of people, they find it difficult to watch long videos. They enjoy short videos. I don't know, what do you guys think? Is shisha hookah makruh? So again, shisha and hookah or hookah, these kind of things, if it's going to harm your body, if you're a doctor, go to your doctor, ask your doctor how much time do you smoke it, and if the doctor says to you it's harmful to your body, you can't take it, basically, because the ruling is based upon how much it's going to harm your body. If a person is going to have it now and again, and it's not going to make it a regular practice, then it's not going to harm the body really, so therefore it would be allowed. But if a person smokes it regularly and has long sessions in smoking it, and each session is equal to, let's say, 100 cigarettes, and it's going to harm the lungs, it's going to harm the body, then obviously harming yourself and speeding up the harm is something which is not allowed. Does one need to get permission to pray standing in the plane, or can he pray on his seat? I mean, I would, from my experience in flying on planes, I would say pray on a seat. Yeah, because praying standing up is very inconvenient for the staff usually, because they have to find a place. Sometimes they allow it, but sometimes it's like health and safety, and then there's like lots of people that want to pray. And I mean, on Saudi planes, it becomes crazy when everyone wants to pray, and someone wants to go to the toilet, and then health and safety and all sorts of things. Yeah, so in that situation, praying on a seat wouldn't be a problem. Lydia, wa alaikum assalam. Ustad, I have been curious and always trying to find the best answer. Is it okay to date someone before marriage? I mean, some people said it's allowed, but some people said no, it's haram. So a good question this is. So basically, if you mean by dating where a person, you go out with the person for a meal and then etc., and you get to know them, then no, Islamically that would not be allowed, right? So if you want to get to know someone, you can meet them in that sense, and it's ideally you should have someone else chaperone with you, and you can have conversations, you can talk about that interests, to see if you're interested in that person. But it can't be like a date that's understood in the West, where you go out, you treat each other, and then you have gifts, etc. That wouldn't be allowed, because you can't show any sort of what's the word for it? You can't show any sort of like sort of I don't know the word. You can't show some sort of like interest in the person, but in a way that it would cause emotions to come inside of them, because then if it doesn't work out, you're going to have emotions for that person. So the idea is that you get to know them as much as is needed, right? And then you what's it? If you're interested in marrying them, you might go ahead with it, and if you're not, then you don't. Okay, wa alaikum assalam, Nawfal. Sheikh, what's the difference between I can't read it properly. Ru'ya al-manam. Ru'ya and manam. Yeah, so ru'ya and manam are the same things. Yeah, ru'ya and manam are the same things. Okay, ru'ya and manam, usually the same things. Okay. Next, how did the ulama of the past manage to do so much in the day and not suffer burnout? Some did 2 khatams plus daily, plus teaching, writing, nafal prayers, fasting, etc. How did they not get exhausted? So I think these kind of incidents that we hear, I don't think it's for all ulama. That's the first thing. Sometimes when we hear these kind of things, maybe ulama did it at some times in their life, but I don't think it was something that they did all the time. But then again, there are some of my teachers I know who had very strict routines, and that's the key. If you look at, for example, famous CEOs of big companies, and you look at their regimes and you look at their routines, you'll find that they achieve so much in the day simply because they are strict on their routine. And the scholars, they didn't have distractions, they didn't have internet, and they didn't have TV and all these kind of things that distract a person. And if you don't have these things, right, if you think about it, in the past they didn't have electricity, so times were very fixed according to daylight and nighttime. So this is why they got a lot done. So I think we have to remember that times were different in them days when it came to distractions, and today's time we've got so many distractions that we can't routine ourselves. So that's the main thing, I think, is routine. Have a strict routine and have everything work like clockwork in your day, and you're going to achieve so much, inshallah. What is meant by wiping over turbans? Does this mean that they did not need to remove the headgear for masa in wudu? So some narrations mention that the Prophet ﷺ, he wiped over his turban. Now, the Prophet ﷺ has no narration that he says you're allowed to wipe over turbans. He has narrations where Sahaba observe him wiping his head and then wiping over the turban as well. So some of them have said that it's allowed to wipe over the turban, just like you can wipe over the leather socks. Others said no, he didn't wipe over the turban, he wiped over his head, and then the rest of the turban he just continued his wiping. So this is why this is a differed opinion. So Hanafis don't allow it, and Hanbalis have some strict conditions on the type of turban and how it needs to be tied. But yeah, that's basically what the narration. So we don't have anything explicit from the Prophet ﷺ to say whether you can wipe over a turban or not. We don't have something which is explicit. That's why we've got this issue. It's just observations of Sahaba, what they saw, and we're kind of basing the masla of their observations. Can you explain the hadith about covering food at night even if it's with a stick? Yeah, so this seems to be a hadith where maybe this was a hadith that was referring to in Medina. Maybe this was some sort of a method from stopping something from getting into it. I don't know. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ saying that, cover the vessels. And this is something logical that we do as well. We cover vessels because we don't want mice and insects to come inside of them. And, covering vessels with objects could be for different purposes. Maybe to cover some types of insects, or maybe to stop something from falling into it. Like if you have a piece of stick over it and something falls, then at least a stick would stop, bits from getting in. Because it creates some sort of a bar over it. So we don't exactly know this. So some have said that this is something which is of the unseen, and this is like a method to kind of stop that. And some have said this was just a practical way of telling people that they should cover the vessel so that it doesn't go off very quickly. Will everyone be resurrected at the same age as they died? I don't know. Wallahu alam. Okay, how old is Dajjal? And how is he preserving himself on the remote island that Hazrat Tamim al-Dari? I don't know. Allah knows best. See, all these kind of things, I mentioned this last week as well. We don't know how the Dajjal is going to appear. We don't know what that meeting that Tamim al-Dari had with Dajjal, how that meeting occurred. Was it in this realm? Was it in a different realm? We don't know the details of it. Was he just brought, did Allah bring him into existence because of this? How did Hazrat Tamim al-Dari communicate with the beast known as Jassasa? We don't know. Did Dajjal communicate with Hazrat Tamim al-Dari on the island in Arabic? We don't know. I have no idea. The narrations don't even mention this. So we don't really know the details of this. That's the reality. Okay, let's have a look at some of your questions. Okay, Nawfal, alaykum assalam. I've done that one. Fatima, alaykum assalam, rahmatullahi barakatuhu. Fatima, is plucking eyebrows allowed? So plucking eyebrows, so the Hanafis allow removing the hair from the middle, right? Monobrow, you can remove all of that, and fixing the eyebrows. So you fix the eyebrows, stopping them from being bushy, so giving them some sort of like a shape. But making them thin, that's where the problem lies. So majority of Hanafis are on the opinion that thinning the eyebrows is not allowed. Some of the Hanafis have said that if it's for the husband, then there is permissibility for it. So if the husband wants the wife to thin her eyebrows, then there's permissibility for it. But otherwise, you're allowed to, Hanafis all agree that you're allowed to fix the eyebrow, like give it some sort of shape, remove hairs, random hairs that are making it look bushy, and that's basically what they say. Okay, Asad Sabir, wa alaikum assalam. Is there a problem with eating mushrooms if they have been cultivated using manure of animals, particularly pigs, but also cows and horses? The manure is treated beforehand. Yeah, so good question this is. So basically, when it comes to any form, as long as there is no manure or feces on the mushroom itself, growing them through the mushroom is fine, because it goes through according to Hanafis, if a change takes place in the substance, right, if there's like a change, it's called istihala, so it metamorphosizes from one substance to another substance. So when you put feces, animals manure or urine in the ground, the kind of the essential sort of like nutrients that the ground absorbs, the plant absorbs from the manure, that is absorbed into the plant, and that's allowed, right? So this is something which is allowed. What we'd have to do is, if the mushroom had urine spilt on it, like I know there are some communities, like we used to have some Vietnamese neighbors, and every morning they used to have like a potty, like proper yellowy greeny urine, and they used to like spill it over their plants, and it used to have them grow, because they used to have these big lettuce and cauliflower growing in the front garden. So next time you get some next door neighbors giving you nice beautiful cauliflower, just wash it just in case. Okay. A lot of crops are probably cultivated similarly, but this particular instance highlighted the issue to me, so so that would be the answer. Despite the usul of hadith, strange narrations still enter the corpus of example 2767 in Muslim related to the authority of Musa, where on Qiyamah Allah will give Muslims an extian or Jew as an extian or Jew as ransom. I don't understand that narration. Okay, so you see, the thing is, when you guys quote hadith numbers differ from publication to publication. So if you have Muslim, for example, depending on which publication you're talking about, the numbering system differs. So if you say hadith 2767, in one publication that could be one hadith, but in another publication could be a different hadith, because sometimes the hadith are ordered in a different way and there's some extra ones in one publication. Okay, what is the opinion of the Hanafi madhab on keeping a beard and the length? Generally, the Hanafis say, and if you look at the kind of classical text, there seems to be this emphasis on keeping the beard. But then if you look at later Hanafis, you'll find that they gave permissibility for cutting the beard so long as there's hair on the jaws. Yeah, so this is something that generally you'll see a lot of Indian subcontinent scholars quite strict on this issue with the size of the beard being a fist, and the Syrian Arabs Hanafis, you'll see them, Turkish Hanafis, quite lenient with the beard so long as there's hair on the. So there's two opinions basically there. Now it's the other way around. In white areas that aren't multicultural, a woman wearing niqab is more likely to get attacked. Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. So sometimes you have to look at a situation where if a woman wearing a niqab is going to harm her, is going to really kind of make it difficult for her to go out, and it's going to go difficult for her to even buy things from the shops or go to the hospital, then it makes sense for the woman not to wear the niqab. Yeah. I have exam on Seerah. MashaAllah. I mean, there's loads of stuff on YouTube. If you look on YouTube, online, you can find lots of people have put notes up. Yeah, that's the amazing thing about these online resources. That's why you're asking. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sherry the Flash. How to start a new life with Allah in teen years? What I would say is, from the depths of your heart, ask Allah to forgive you of every single sin you can remember and you can't remember. That's the first thing. Number 2 is give some charity. Yeah, and number 3 is start one thing that you're going to continue for a long time. Like, for example, help the homeless, or maybe even visit some sick people or elderly people and help them out. Do some good in the community, I would say. Did an Arabic Hafiz mean will the cost of the stock be added to nisab, meaning calculating zakat payment? Yeah, you don't. So when it comes to zakat, you don't add anything to nisab. Nisab is not there for you to add something to it or deduct it. Nisab is there just to tell you whether you're eligible to give zakat or not give zakat. Once you're eligible to give zakat, you do nothing with the nisab. You don't touch the nisab. Okay, what's your view on that hadith about Zishan, Tian, and Jews being ransomed for Muslims on Qiyamah? I don't know, you got to bring the hadith. Yeah, so you got to show me the hadith and then I'll be able to. Okay, 45 times 5 equals, I don't know, calculate it. Wait, I'm not calculating, I'm answering questions. I'm not doing your maths. I'm a maths teacher. Are you allowed to wear fake nails during Salah? Okay, so yes, as long as you've done your wudu and they're not causing a barrier, then you can pray with fake nails on. I don't think it'll be ideal when you want to go into sajda and your nails are kind of like. Okay, let's look at curious cat. Can buzurgs conjure up karamat? It depends what you mean by that. Like buzurgs, can they conjure up? Can they do Paul Daniels magic tricks? Yeah, obviously they can. This idea of karamat is something we believe in, which basically means that is it possible for someone to be able to do something which breaks the normal laws of the universe? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. So we believe, just like if prophets do it, they call it mu'jiza, they call it miracle, mu'jiza. But if anyone besides a prophet does it, if a sinner does it, they call it istidraj. And if a good person does it, then they call it karama. Right? So you have like Al-Imam Nabhani has compiled a whole book of, different karamat that appeared in the time of Sahaba, kind of different things that Sahaba done that appeared as karamat, and in the Tabi'een, Taba Tabi'een. So yes, it's possible. Again, it depends what you mean. I mean, Buzurgs can't do whatever they want. Karama is not like, you can, like, what is it called? Like, what's that guy? In Iron Man, in Marvel, yeah, a guy that can do some magic tricks. What's he called? I forgot, man. You know that guy, doctor, and he's got those magic powers. So Karamat doesn't mean that you reach a level where now you can do magic tricks and you can conjure up things from thin air. No, it doesn't mean that. It just means randomly, just in a certain situation, something will happen that seems to defy the laws of the universe, and it's just random. You can't control it. It's like out of your control. How was Dajjal born and who locked him up in the island? Allah knows best. What seriously, we have no narrations for this, no evidence. What significance has the monastery Dajjal locked up? We have no idea. I mean, this hadith is so strange that we don't know exact details. Like exactly, did it happen on this world? Did it happen in a different realm? We don't know. Is there any mention as to show how Dajjal will transport from the remote island? No, we have no idea. Will the whole world, today is quite easy questions, will the whole world hear the announcement of Imam Mahdi or only those in the Haram Makkah? We don't know exactly, but narrations seem to say that when Imam Mahdi comes, and I haven't seen the authenticity of the hadith, but it says that when Imam Mahdi appears or is first heard of, is going to be in Mecca, and people are going to hear about him in Mecca. Allah knows best. Have all the minor signs of the hour taken place? According to many people, yeah. According to many people, most of them have appeared. I mean, the minor signs have started from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ himself was a sign of the Day of Judgment. Yeah. So that just explains to you what the minor signs, the nature of them are. Is there a comprehensive book that covers all the hadith of the signs of the last day? Yeah, there are. There's a few books that have been written, but they're in Arabic. And if you know Arabic, and after the video finishes, if you can put it in the comments, and then I can put links up to them. They're like 3 volumes each. Yeah, they're quite detailed. Ashratu Sa'a. Hazrat said that Al-Kahf should be read daily to save ourselves from Dajjal. Does the fazilat of the hadith only mention Friday? Yes, it's only for Friday. Does barzakh start immediately after death or after burial? Barzakh is basically the realm that you go into, after you die. So after you die. Can the questioning start before the burial or after burial? I mean, usually it starts, that's when the narrations mention, usually this is how it starts, once it's buried, then. But if a person, I mean, then the question comes, what if a person's eaten by a wild beast and they're not buried, or someone dies in the sea and their bones are the bottom of the sea? Does that mean their question doesn't start? No, it does start, but this is just normally it starts for people when they're buried. Where did the phrase Sadaqallahu al-Azim at the end of recitation originate from? I mean, it didn't come from the time of Sahaba. It came much later on, many hundreds of years later. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember exactly. I mean, I remember someone did write something on this. But it's something that came much later on. It's not from the Sahaba, from the early years. It's very recent. Please, if you can answer my question regarding... Okay, I think I answered that one. Barakallah feek. What constitutes zihar? So zihar basically is this idea in the Quran where a person, it was done in Jahiliyyah, where a man would say to his wife that parts of your body, certain parts of your body resemble my mum's. Those parts that he's not allowed to look at on his mum. So which part is he not allowed to look at on his mum? So anything below his mother's breasts. So he can look at his mum's breasts, but below her breasts all the way to her knees, he can't look at that area. So if he says to his wife, your belly looks like my mum's belly, or your backside looks like my mum's backside, or something like that. Now because he's kind of dishonored his mum, as in this is considered to be a form of disrespect to your mother, then the rules of zihar take place. And zihar literally means the back. That's why they used to kind of resemble the mother with the back. So the Quran was revealed that you shouldn't be doing this. Your mothers are your biological mothers, your wives are not your mothers, and you should have this separation between the two and respect for the two in their own ways. So if a person does do this, then before they can continue with the marriage, he has to do one of three things: either free a slave, or he has to fast continuously for 60 days, or he has to feed 60 poor people. Okay. Assalamu alaikum Ustad. I have a relative who is going to Umrah this year, inshallah. They were asking if there is a guide that they could take with them. Is there a book which you could recommend? I don't really know of any good book out there. So I mean, if you go on YouTube, tell them to how to perform Umrah on one of those kind of things, or there might be some apps. I mean, I don't really know. I know some people are working on some, but I don't know if they completed it. But I'm sure if you go online on YouTube, you can find some things there. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to donate organs in Islam? Could you kindly explain the Islamic ruling behind this? Yeah, so this is a common one that people ask, especially with the new laws that are coming out. So, see, when it comes to organ donation, Mufti Zubair Butt and Mufti Faraz Adam, each of them respectively, have written on this in detail. Fatwas out there. You can Google it and just type in organ transplant fatwa Mufti Zubair Butt, and NHS has actually put it up on their website. And he's for it, he allows it, and he argues, he's a Hanafi, he's a well-known Hanafi in the UK, and he argues for the permissibility of it and shows how the scholars actually do allow it based on today's understanding of organ transplantation. So basically the reason why organ transplantation was considered not allowed in the past was two main reasons. One was because the human body is considered to be honored. And if you, in the past, they never imagined that the human body could be transplanted. So if you kind of used someone else's body, the only way you could use it was to eat it, consume it. And that's eating it is actually considered to be disrespect to the human body. So they didn't allow it. And they would say things like, if there's two people on a boat and they're both dying, and one of them says, "So I chop my leg off," and we'd both eat it to stay alive. They said it's not allowed. You'd rather die than eat each other's body. So that was basically the kind of fatwas that they said, because they never imagined that the human body could be used. But as time went by, what began to happen was people understood that now, okay, medical technology and know-how is fast developing, and so now it kind of like it's very, very likely that you can take someone else's organs, put it into another body, and allow it to survive as well. So yeah. So that's mainly the kind of... So this is why, it's only been about 100 years since blood transfusion's been allowed now. Yeah, blood transfusion. You're allowed to do that. And they base that upon the ruling of a woman selling her breast milk. So a woman can sell her breast milk and say that and therefore the blood can also be given via transfusion to another person as well. So nowadays, I mean, the whole idea of transplanting your body to another person to keep them alive, as long as you're not harming yourself, then it's actually considered to be honorable to save someone else's life if you can. Yeah, so that's basically. So I would say, and I'll put the link on Curious Cat anyway, but you can check it out on Google. How should Muslims deal with series such as The Messiah? Oh my God. Okay, let me just check this out first. Okay. Ihram, niqab, cap still touch size of the face. So is it okay not to wear niqab during 5 days of Hajj? So the ruling of touching the face is if it touches the face for a long duration. Yeah, so if it touches the face for a long duration, and long duration differs. Some Hanafis say for more than half a day, and some Hanafis say for a long time. So therefore, if it just touches now and again, that'd be fine. Okay. I prefer 20-30 minute videos personally. I guess everyone is different. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how are you finding the guns? Are you following them? How do you interpret the verses of Surah Qari'ah? فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. So the way that you'd interpret this is about the Day of Judgment when humans come. Some people's deeds are going to be so much that the scales are going to be heavy. The scales being heavy is indication that they're successful and they're going to have a beautiful life. And then those people whose scales are going to be light, meaning they haven't done any good or very little good in the world, then this light scales means that it's Jahannam for them. For ummuhu hawiya. So ummuhu hawiya means the place he's going to end up. The here doesn't mean his mother. It means where he's going to end up is hawiya, is an abyss. Like Jahannam being described as an abyss. As you said that the Day of Judgment is based on the mercy of Allah and not on the deeds of a person. Yeah, so basically, if you remember last week, I explained. So Allah, at the end is His mercy. How do you gain His mercy? You gain His mercy by trying to do as much good as you can. So us doing good, like me doing this video, or you watching this video, or you praying your salat, or you reading Quran, why are you doing it for? If it's all about mercy, then why are we doing all these things? So because Allah has told us to do these things, and this is how we believe we're going to gain the mercy of Allah. But we don't know how much actions we're going to do to gain the mercy of Allah. Maybe we'll have to do all the actions. Maybe it's just a few actions. Allah knows best. So this is why we don't look at it from the sense of from the like the macro level. We look at it from the micro level as human beings. And then if we've tried our best and we got no more, then we rely on the mercy of Allah. Okay, is it true illnesses, disease may come down on food if you leave uncovered at night or shaitan goes over the food? Also, do the bowls, etc. make bad dua for you if you leave them unwashed overnight? Okay, so is it possible that disease? Yes, it's possible that disease could come. Like I said, maybe in Medina there was some sort of disease or some sort of like a winds spreading that had some sort of disease in there. It's probably very possible, and so covering up utensils made sense. And this could have been the reason, and it's very possible that this is. But we see, the thing is, we don't find this kind of thing being mentioned as an Islamic ruling. Like I said last time, that the Prophet ﷺ, he would advise people on things that were not even Islamic, like they're not directly associated to Allah and Jannah. So, for example, like things like standing up and drinking water, or sitting down drinking water, or even not walking with one slipper. He said, don't walk with one slipper. That doesn't seem to be something associated to Allah and Jannah, the hereafter, the message of Islam. It's just something very practical, like just don't walk with one slipper. It looks silly. Yeah. So this is why when we look at these hadith, what we have to remember is that many hadith sometimes are time bound, like in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They're not for all times. Yes, even the hadith, things like they've discussed here about when the fly falls in your water, dip it in and take it out, because one wing has an illness and the other wing has a cure. This could have been for a specific type of fly in them days, like some of the scholars say. Okay, usually mushrooms have bits of soil on them, so even if you wash them, there's still some left. So is it okay to eat them? There may be pig manure on. I mean, if you wash them thoroughly, it should be fine. You try to wash them as best as you can. Okay, Zishian. Okay, Christian. Oh, you're trying to avoid saying Christ. Okay. Alright, so Christian. Is temporary hair dye allowed? Below is the description. Conceal grey hair's roots instantly with magic retouch from L'Oreal Paris. An instant root concealer spray. Oh yeah. Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, it doesn't really create a coating. It doesn't create a thick barrier. It just creates a light kind of like greasy coating. That would be allowed. So in regards to beard, is it in hukum of wujub? Also, how long should it be? Length minimum. Again, the Hanafis don't have anything that is concrete on this issue to say that, because we don't have anything explicit from the early Hanafis to say that cutting the beard is not allowed. It's something which is understood from various texts. So that's why, it's an ijtihadi issue within the Hanafi school itself. Yeah, so if you look at, for example, Arab Hanafis, a lot of them short beards. Sheikh Zahid al-Kawthari, short beard. Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, for most of his life, had a short beard. And then many Hanafis in Egypt as well, and Turkey, and like I said, Jordan. Sheikh Salah Abul Hajj. And, so it's ijtihadi at the end of the day. Whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever, your scholar or the view that you find which is, you believe is more solid in research, then you follow that. Yeah, I say both. There's scope for both of them. So the Indian subcontinent Hanafis on the view that is the hukum, the wujub is for fistful, and the others say that there has to be some hair on your jaw, even if it's like a stubbly one. Okay, all right, let's go back to this. Okay, how should Muslims deal with series such as Messiah and the Rivals? I mean, I think Muslims should be educated. Yeah, they should know their own religion. They shouldn't learn religion from dramas like this. If you are learning about Dajjal through watching the Messiah, then I think you need to get your head sorted out. You need to learn about Dajjal, who the Dajjal is, from the proper sources. And then if you're just watching this for entertainment, then it's fine. But if you're watching this to learn your Aqidah, then, please sort yourself out. Yeah, learn Aqidah properly. Learn belief properly. Yeah, so this, I would say, if a person fears that their belief will get messed up by watching these kind of things because they don't know much about Islam, then I would say don't watch it. But if you're just watching it for entertainment, you're not watching it to, establish your beliefs, then it's fine. Assalamu alaikum. I'm not sure you realize what a huge service you are providing by the questions and answer service in today's times, where there's so much wrong information available at the tip of your fingers, when it's easy to do fatwa shopping on Google, and most of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ don't have access to truly rightly guided scholars. You are providing a free service which helps the average Muslim better understand the deen and worship Allah in the correct way. I thank you on behalf of all of us who have benefited from you. Thank you for giving us time from your very busy schedule and passing down to us a share of the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ, which you have been granted. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and your family abundantly in the dunya and akhirah. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. This means a lot, mashallah. Listen to these kind of comments. It kind of like gives a lot of motivation to me as well. And as you can see, I've started doing this regularly now on Saturdays. And alhamdulillah, if there's people out there who are benefiting and it's improving their lives, and it's not just some sort of Saturday night entertainment for people, then alhamdulillah, I pray that Allah accepts it from me, and Allah accepts it from all those people in the world who are trying to do the khidmat of deen. I mean, jazakallah khair again. Thank you very much. What's meant by ihtisab in the hadith that includes iman wa ihtisaban? So in a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, for example, says, whoever fasts in Ramadan imanan, meaning if you're looking at it from a nahu perspective, then there's three possibilities of what it could be. It could be li'ajl iman, it could be imanan maful mutlaq, or it could be imanan as in hal, masdar hal. Right, whatever. Then it means basically a person fasts Ramadan ihtisab, he's calculating reward. In other words, he's hoping for reward from Allah. He's doing it out of reward. Yeah, which is something which the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned, because this is what we should do. We should do our actions hoping reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yeah, any action that we do, we should have like a virtue in our back of our minds for why we're doing it. And this motivates people to do it more, just like someone who wrote this nice message about the question and answer series. This kind of thing kind of motivates people. So motivation is very important. Are braces a barrier for gargling in ghusl, or are they permissible? So braces are there to fix the teeth. So because it's a medical sort of like issue, then it's fine, and it obviously creates a barrier, but this is exempted here because it's for a medical issue. So you're allowed to have them. Did people in India see the moon split at the time? I don't know. Wallah. I've heard some reports that say that in India, the people that were living there at that time have it recorded that they did see the moon split, but I can't verify that. Can angels take the form of humans all the time, or is this restricted to the time of the Prophet ﷺ when Jibreel used to appear in the form of human? Yeah, I mean, according to narrations, they can take the form of humans. Like in the time of Maryam alayhi salam, they took the form of a Jibreel alayhi salam came in the form of a man, and why not? I mean, if Allah wants them to, allows them to be able to. Okay, is there only one Malakul Maut, and does this one angel travel thousands of locations around the world simultaneously? Again, this idea of Malakul Maut, yeah. قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ الَّذِي وُكِّلَ بِكُمْ. Allah says, say, O Messenger of Allah, that Malakul Maut, the angel of death, has been appointed to you. Now, what is this, and how does it work? We don't know. Maybe Malakul Maut is in a different realm, and he has the ability, he's so massive that he has the ability to be able to access all human beings wherever they are around the world. Yeah, maybe that's, like, he doesn't travel as we understand traveling. So he has access to this realm and access to be able to take anyone's soul. Yeah, so again, maybe the way that it's done is where the souls are kept. We don't know exactly where the soul is in the body, how it's connected to the hereafter. Just like, imagine I'm sitting here and this computer's working through Wi-Fi, and someone just switches off the Wi-Fi from downstairs. Right? Imagine there's a room that's got all Wi-Fis and everyone's Wi-Fis, and someone just wants to switch someone's Wi-Fi off and just pull out the wire from that room. Maybe that's how the souls are taken. We don't know. Or it could even be that Malakul Maut is a department of angels. A department of angels known as Malakul Maut. And there's a head of the Malakul Maut, and then there's all other angels that work under. It could work like that. We don't know. These are things which are metaphysical. In Ilmul Kalam, they would actually research these kind of things. This is the kind, if you study Ilmul Kalam, you actually do research into these kind of things to try and understand further the logics. Okay, is it reasonable for a husband to forbid a wife from hanging around in pajamas all day during winter? I mean, I don't think it's reasonable. It's like, it's not legal. It's not. There's no legal sort of grounds he has for that. But maybe he wants his wife to look nice, yeah, and then he should obviously make the effort as well to look nice for his wife. So yeah, maybe, but it's not something which legally she'll have to do. If she wants to stay in her pajamas all day, I mean, she can stay in her pajamas. But this wouldn't make the marriage. It wouldn't be conducive to the marriage. So remember, the marriage is not based upon individual rules. The marriage is based upon creating a bond between the two, which requires compromisation. So there has to be this element of compromisation from both sides. At uni during winter times, there is sometimes no way we can pray Asr at the Hanafi time. This is due to the length of the lecture and the distance of the prayer room from the lecture room. In this scenario, can we pray Asr early? Yeah, possibly. You can pray in the Shafi time. I mean, in the Shafi time, you'd be allowed to pray in that time. Yeah, in this situation. I mean, it's not just the Shafi time, it's Abu Yusuf and Abu Muhammad's time as well. It is Hanafi time as well. But you can pray in the early time, which is known as the Shafi time for Asr. So work out what the Shafi time is, and then you can pray them. Okay. Alright, so mashallah, I think it's going quite well today. What do you guys think? Is it going quite well? Sherry the Flash, Jazakallah khair, mashallah, Ameen. Sherry the Flash, you got a good name, a cool name. Fatima wa Maryam, the hairspray offers temporary coverage of hair roots and lasts until it's shampooed out with a lightweight formula. The root concealers does not transfer and is perfect for daily. Yeah, it should be fine. I mean, as long as it doesn't create a thick crust. If it creates a crust, the crust is a problem. So does it create a crust on your hair? Like, does it make your hair like a crusty, just like as a person would have like nail varnish? If it creates a crust, then no. If it doesn't create a crust, then it's fine. And I assume that it doesn't create a crust. Otherwise, then the hair would look strange. Has Salam, is forex trading permissible? Okay, what I would suggest is, forex trading, go online, go to Google, type in forex trading Mufti Faraz Adam. Mufti Faraz, he's written a whole paper on this, and he's one of the experts on finance in the UK. Yeah, Mufti Faraz, Faraz Adam, and write down forex trading. He's written a whole paper on this, a very detailed one. So what I would say is read that, because it's not as simple as permissible, impermissible issue. It's very detailed. So a lot of people don't realize how intricate the kind of the issues in forex trading are, and so they just think it's a very simple yes or no. It's not as simple as that. Okay, have you seen the atheist video where a group of atheists formulate a surah? What do you think of that? Yeah, I've actually seen a few of them. The thing is, it just sounds so fake. So someone who has lots of experience with Arabic and balagha and classical Arabic, it just sounds so fake. I mean, what I intend to do is, I was intending to actually take an example of that and break it down and show how it totally does not follow or show any consistency in it, and it's flawed. It's like a kind of joke, really. But the problem is the audience. The only problem is the audience will not be able to understand the breakdown, because it requires the audience to understand a very good level of balagha and understand a very good level of the nature of ayats of the Quran. So that's why I'm hoping to, when I cover a large section of balagha, inshallah, then I'll hope to cover some of those videos. And then those who are following the videos will be able to understand themselves how it's so flawed. Can we buy shares of Bajis? Oh, can we buy shares of banks? So generally no, because banks, usually most of their income is based upon interest. So you wouldn't be allowed to, a conventional interest-based bank, you wouldn't be allowed to know. Doctor Strange. Oh yeah, Doctor Strange. Yeah, it's called Doctor Strange. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so I'm going to have a little break, guys. Yeah, my tea is out. So 5 minutes, inshallah, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. So stay tuned, inshallah. And let me know what you think of this new method of doing some of the Curious Cat ones and some of the answers, some of the ones in the list. Okay, so guys, I've got my tea again, and this time I've got this thing which I bought online. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used this. Yeah, it's basically like a little sort of cage kind of thing, and you put your tea in there and you close it, and then it basically stops you from having to swallow those bits of tea, loose tea. Yeah, I think it's a nice invention. Good invention. Don't know if you guys ever heard of it. Okay, so okay, let's carry on with the questions then, inshallah. Okay, let's have a look at a question in the comments then. Okay, so last time you said that getting rid of extra fat around your belly by the process of heating can be possibly allowed. In simple terms, can we get it done or not? I mean, I think last time I said to you, yes, you can. Yeah, it's possibly allowed. See, the reason why I say it's possibly allowed is sometimes in a fatwa you cannot give an explicit answer. You have to look at the exact individual that's asking the question, and you have to look at their circumstances. So sometimes it's a case by case. So when the answer is a case by case situation, the mufti cannot give an explicit answer or a general answer. He has to ask the individual questions, and then based on that he can say yes or no. So sometimes when I say to you there's scope in this or permissibility, this is because some of these questions you can't give a brush fatwa. It's based upon a case-by-case answer. So I know some people get frustrated when I'll say things like there's scope in this or this is possible. It's because I can't give an answer to everyone. It has to be sometimes a case-by-case. Like for example, if someone asks, someone asks, is it possible for a woman to get an abortion? And I say to you, there's scope. In other words, I can't say not every woman can get an abortion, but in certain situations, certain circumstances of a woman, if she presents a situation, then maybe, yeah. So it all depends. It all depends on how much fat there is. Is it something that doctors said it's going to be harmful for that individual, etc. Okay, what is the purpose of prophets doing extraordinary, unique actions? Because even the Dajjal is going to extraordinary. Yeah, so the reason why the prophets used to do extraordinary actions was proof of prophethood. So in other words, if a prophet comes with a message, that message, anyone can come with a message. But if a prophet comes with a message, the prophet would always come with a sign to prove that his message is true. So that sign that he would come with was actually considered to be a way of strengthening the message, that this message is really from God. So that was the whole point. And then the idea was that no one else can do this. If anyone else said they're from God, they've come from God, Allah has sent them, and they tried to bring a sign, they wouldn't be able to. Allah would stop it. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that supernatural events can't take place. It can take place, but they won't take place with the person who is claiming prophethood. Okay, Shaykh, have you heard of Rupert Sheldrake? Yes, Rupert Sheldrake. I've heard of quite a lot of his talks. Very interesting guy. Very interesting. I missed most of the question answers today because I was working overtime and I forgot. Inna lillahi wa inna raji'un. Don't worry, they're recorded, so you'll be able to catch up. Maulana Salim Dorat has written a good, simple Umrah books. Yeah, I've heard of those. I haven't seen them. I think they've made them into an app now or something. Good book on Umrah, Rafiqul Haramain. Okay, in English and Urdu. إن أمكن لك أن ترجع في الماضي ما تفعل. أنا لو كنت أستطيع أن أعود لعدت إلى ممكن لا أدري لعدت إلى المدرسة ولدرست جيدا ولا يعني لم أضيع الفرص. نعم ممكن، ولكن هذا شيء يعني لا أفضل أن أتفكر في مثل أمثال هذا، لأن هذا يعني يشوش الذهن، فإنه متعلق بالقدر، وكلما الإنسان يأسف على ما فات وتمنى أن لا يكون مثل هذا فيزيد في حسرته وتأسفه ولا ينفعه. Sometimes when you're nice and forgiving towards others, even when they mistreat you, some people say that's not being humble and kind. It means don't have any self-respect. Islamically, what should you do? Yes, it's a difficult one. It's not like a straightforward situation. Sometimes you might actually need to be humble. It might be the situation might demand that you should be humble and forgiving, but sometimes it wouldn't. Like for example, let's say you're in front of an Islamophobe and he's harming Muslims, and you're thinking, I'll be humble and I'll just, please sir, can you stop hitting that woman, please sir, please. I mean, obviously that's not going to work over there. You're going to have to be a bit brutal there. But sometimes you're in a situation where obviously you might be with your brother or your sister or your parents, and there forgiving and being kind is what's demanded. So having self-respect. Some situations may demand self-respect, honor, dignity, and some situations may not. You might be a CEO of a company, you might have to make decisions, and they might see that you're not being humble, but in reality you're doing it for the betterment of the company. With this, when will these rock notebooks be available for purchase? I need a new notebook, but I'm not buying one. Well, inshallah, you're going to find out, inshallah. Some of you lovely patrons will find out very soon. Okay, Sheikh, please tell us about the وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. Does that mean we will all enter hell? So wariduha meaning warada means to come to it. So the narrations mention that everyone will have to pass over Jahannam, as in the Sirat. So every human being will have to come and pass over Jahannam, and some will fall in and others will fly by. Okay. Alright, let's look at this. Okay, got some questions. Do you know of any Islamically accepted alternative for tuition fees? Unfortunately, I don't know any. I mean, you can actually get, most likely you'll be eligible for Zakat. You can get Zakat. And this is where some people are very, are very sort of like, what do you call it? Problematic here, because some people will say, look, Zakat should be sent to the poor country, people who are more in need. And they don't see a student who wants to study university as being in need. So they see someone who, a village that requires food, they'll say, I'd rather give my Zakat over there than to support. But then the question is that this is relative poverty, and this guy, if you support him and he becomes, or she, they graduate and they become someone who is a giver in the community, they become an asset for the community. It's something which is so. Zakat, again, I would say needs to be looked at, especially in this country. People need to give some Zakat to abroad and give some Zakat in locally as well, I would say. If you're going to give your Zakat don't belong to you. End of the day, your Zakat belongs to the one who is eligible to receive Zakat, whether it is a student of university or others. And if a person can't get anything else, then there is scope for many students to be able to take a loan. Yeah, a student loan, because they got no other choice. You often hear these snippets where they say a person who misses a prayer is worse than a murderer, rapist, etc. How can this be explained? I don't know. I don't agree with that. Yeah, I think that's very, very wrong. Yeah, how can a person who misses prayer be equal to someone who's a rapist? Both are sins. Yeah, and the rapist obviously is harming another person, murdering another person. That's involving huquq al-ibad. Then I totally disagree with that. Yeah, I totally disagree with that. I don't know why people compare. I think, sometimes what happens is when some people are giving talks, sometimes they come out with analogies, and there's a context for the analogy, there's a situation for it. Maybe in their mind they're thinking of one particular sort of like scenario, and it might not have been a good idea to get it recorded and then spread the snippets around, because all sorts of people will listen to a snippet of a talk without listening to the whole talk, and then they kind of think to themselves, this is the reality. A person who doesn't pray is worse than a rapist. Yeah, so I think a lot of these that's a problem with social media nowadays. People will listen to snippets and misconstrue them. I would say 60-70% of people who hear a snippet of a scholar recording, most cases I would say they misconstrue what he's saying. Because, it's like taking from a book, one page, and then in that page taking one line, and that one line spreading it around to everyone, saying Harry Potter said this, or so-and-so said this. Clearly you are going to get people who are going to misconstrue it. So, and then what happens is people take those statements as being like absolute statements. And anyone who studied Usul Fiqh would know that even the words of the Prophet ﷺ have to be looked at in context. Like even one hadith has to be looked at in context. Okay. Is Sajda Shukr done just like the Sajda Tilawa? Yes. Is there a Salat called Salat al-Shukr? There's nothing called a Salat al-Shukr. It's just nafal where you are thankful to Allah. So you're thankful to Allah because Allah gave you something and you feel like praying 2 rakats in thanks to Allah. That's all. What books do you recommend to increase intelligence? I don't think there's any books that increase people's intelligence. Yeah, I think what increases intelligence is something you either you've got a certain amount or you don't have it. Yeah, so it fluctuates with people. Maybe certain times of the day you're more intelligent or you're more sharper, basically. I wouldn't say intelligent, more sharper, your senses are sharper, your brain is functioning better, and some parts of the day your brain is not functioning better. So I don't think there's any books that would increase your intelligence. This sounds a bit strange. Why would there be a book that increases intelligence? Yes, there are some books that sharpen your understanding, your intellect. It refines it, but it won't increase it. So like, for example, mathematics, or for example, doing puzzles, or these kind of things that have been known to improve your memory and to improve reactions and to improve sort of like certain parts of your brain. Yeah, so these kind of like mental tests, I would say, do those. They say mantiq and these kind of sciences do that as well. They sharpen. What is the ruling regarding women wearing rings? Does it have to be gold, silver, or camel? Yeah, they can wear any. Yeah, women can wear any rings as long as they don't wear rings that Hanafi say, as long as they don't wear rings that are made from sulfur, copper, pure sulfur, and pure stone. Those are the three. Pure iron. Yeah, those are the four that have been prohibited in Hadith. But then even some scholars discuss those as well, because those were like the materials that were used to make idols in them days. So the Prophet ﷺ said, right, I don't want anyone wearing rings that are made from these materials that they make idols from, because he was trying to get the idol sort of like belief out of their system. But women can wear any other ring, any plastic rings, metal rings, whatever. Can't wait till 9 p.m. Okay, mashallah. Okay. If your wife lies repeatedly, what is the best way to handle this? She reacts angrily when lies are pointed out. I mean, these kind of situations, you have to talk to them. Yeah. If you believe that your wife is lying, then talk to her. Ask her. Maybe there's something happening in the family. Maybe there's problems going on. Maybe, who knows? So speak to her. A lot of these kind of problems that people have in their marriage is simply because they don't talk to each other. Yeah, husband walks like 10 steps ahead of the wife on the street. Yeah, they don't speak to each other. And, these kind of things happen. So I think more communication, speaking to each other will kind of... But I'm not an expert in marriage kind of issues, so best not to ask me about these kind of things. So I think this is not to do with Islam. This is more to do with sort of counseling issues. Yeah, people who have counseling problems in their marriages, problems in their workplace, problems in, whatever. So these kind of things are just generally related to people getting their problems sorted in that manner. Can I meet work colleagues or ex-work colleagues at meals, male and female, never alone, no touching? Again, it's possible, but all the time in these kind of situations, always remember to yourself, think to yourself, look, is it going to result in something which is bad? Is there really a need for this? And as long as you're observing, dress code and being professional with them, and it's not something like flirting, and it's in an open environment like a public air place, and there's many people there, then possibly, yeah, it's possible. But I would say, again, in these kind of situations, sometimes in certain situations, I would say avoid it. For many people, I would say avoid it. For some people, it would be permissible. But again, this is one of those things that you have to look at it case by case. So it wouldn't just be like, you got some schoolmates or something and you're grown up now and you want to go out every once a month and meet up and talk with each other. I mean, there has to be a sense of, man and woman being, having some sort of like regulations between them. And if you don't recognize these regulations, if you don't recognize this idea that there should be some sort of this kind of gap between the two, that they should know this is my limits, this is my limits, and we shouldn't treat each other like a man going out with his mates, male mates, or a woman going out with her female mates. You can't treat them the same. So there has to be this understanding. Do you rate marriage counseling? What your views on it? Again, I don't know. I'm not an expert on these kind of things. I think a lot of people do need marriage counseling. A lot of marriages are failing, and there is this idea of there being experts out there who have studied a lot regarding marriage, and they need to understand how marriages work and the problems in marriage. And a lot of people are ignorant of this, especially I think in a lot of Asian communities. A lot of people are. So there has to be, I think, and the Quran encourages it as well, that when the husband and wife are not getting on together, that they bring members of the woman's family, members of the man's family, they sit down and they discuss it. And at the end of the discussion, if there is hope that this marriage can work, they continue. And if there's no hope that marriage is going to work, then they finish it off. Are there any works on Islamic politics and how Islamic State should be run? Should the government be elected, the role of the government, etc.? Any works that may answer questions in regards to this? I mean, these kind of questions which are related to, Islamic governments and all of these kind of things. One thing we have to understand is that Muslims have always been living, under some sort of a government. Yeah, a Muslim recognized as a Muslim government for many, many, many years. The problem has only arisen in places where Muslims are minorities, or the government is not implementing the penal code according to the Islamic understanding of it. This is where the problem arises. So this is why Muslims should be living in a system where they can freely practice their religion, and the laws that the Quran mentions, like for example the penal code, is being implemented in the way that it should be implemented. However, if this is not possible, then any government, as long as they're able to practice their religion, is fine to live under. You don't have to go and live under a Islamic government per se. So there are books regarding this, but those books were designed for a time when there was like a government, like a policy book. So just like you have government policy, right? You had government policy, so you had internal home policy, and then you had a foreign policy. So scholars were writing these as time went by. So the idea is, you have someone at the top who is overseeing everything, and then you have, other roles in the government, admin roles, and like governors, and then you have like military, and then you have like specific types of ministers. So you had all of these kind of things as well. So there are some books out there like Ahkam Sultaniya. In many chapters of the books of fiqh, there's sections on issues regarding governance. Okay, but they're mostly in Arabic. I don't know any in English. Assalamu alaikum. Can you read namaz with your eyes closed to concentrate on salat? Yes, you can, if it's for concentration. May Allah reward you well for taking your time, as always, answering questions. This is a big help. You're welcome. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Again, very nice comment. Alhamdulillah. Second biggest sin in Islam after shirk, if possible, with some sort of a dalil. If not, then no worries. I mean, again, I don't know why people are trying to find this kind of grading of what's the worst thing in Islam, what's the these kind of things. Like there are some narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, someone asked him, what's the biggest sin in Islam, and he said shirk. They said, what's after that? He goes, killing your child if you're scared that he's going to finish all your food, meaning poverty. And then what? Then he says, then fornicating with your neighbor's wife. So you have the Prophet ﷺ mentioning different things. Shirk is usually the worst, but then you have other things that the Quran mentions. Don't do shirk, and don't be disobedient to your parents. So disobedience to your parents is second. So what we have to understand is the Prophet ﷺ would tell people crimes, like the sins, for different individuals. Like if he saw someone that was being disobedient to his parents, he'd tell them that the worst thing you can do is disobey your parents. And if he saw someone that was bad to his children, he would say the worst thing you could do is be bad to your children. And if he saw someone who was not particular about cleanliness, he would say the worst thing you can do is not be particular about your cleanliness. So sometimes what we fail to understand is the Prophet ﷺ was a very, very acute sort of like a person. He knew exactly the problems individuals had, and when he told them like lists of things, in many cases those lists were designed, tailored for that individual. But then when the hadith narrates it, the hadith doesn't say that this is for that person. The hadith just generally says the Prophet ﷺ said this, and then he said this, and then he said this. So until the day of judgment, everyone who reads the hadith thinks that this particular hadith is for them. This particular hadith is for them. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Have you got any tips on growing zulfa? Just grow it. Go for it. Just grow it. I mean, I don't put any sort of like extra things in my hair. Just now and again I'll put some hair oil in my hair, and now and again I'll wash my hair. I use tea gel shampoo and nothing special. Yeah, I mean, now at the moment it's very greasy, as you guys can see. How much is the Usul al-Shashi course? So the Usul al-Shashi course is, I haven't uploaded all of it yet, I haven't edited it all, but at the moment there's about 40 videos that are uploaded so far, and they're available, access available for the patrons. But if you want to just want to get those videos, then just the videos themselves on their own is £75. Just the videos, yeah, just on their own. Then if you want like extra sort of tests and all that kind of things, then the price is higher. That's for Usul al-Shashi. Yeah, so the audio recordings, and then you have the Arabic on the screen. And also I'll be putting up Nukhbat al-Fikr as well. I'll be putting soon up Nur al-Anwar as well, and maybe even Usul Sarakhsi and some others as well, inshallah. So you can check them out on my website, uruq.com. Uruk, UROOQ.com. Okay. Are claims of those who have supposed Baal Mubarak authentic? A lot of community members then attend these ziyaras. Again, the Prophet ﷺ's hair, do we have any strands of hair left? And it's all speculation, I would say. We can't 100% say that the people who claim they have the Prophet ﷺ's hair is really the Prophet ﷺ's hair. We can't say that. There's not enough evidence for it. But if it is, then mashallah, visiting it and looking at it, and nothing wrong with that. Can shaitan be in multiple locations around the world? Shaitan, again, how does shaitan work? Shaitan is in one place, okay? Shaitan has lots of individuals working for him. Yeah, humans and jinn that work for him, and they're all around. So shaitan being in all places at the same time, there's no evidence to prove that he is. Alhamdulillah, all Curious Cat questions are finished. Okay, so let's check out some of your questions. Okay, so does that mean we will all enter hell? No, it doesn't mean all enter hell. I think I explained that one. Salam, Ustad, can you please make a video on diacritical marks on Quran and their ruling? Have you followed my... are you talking about the Fatha, Dhamma, Kasra ones? If you followed my Learn How to Read the Quran, I explained the pronunciation of those. What's your opinion on Turkish series Urtugal? I haven't watched it, so I don't know. But I know a lot of people have watched it. I heard it's supposed to be good. It's just like another drama. It's like, a drama. And I think maybe one of the positive things about it is that it kind of it gives confidence to Muslims as well. Yeah, it makes them feel as though, Muslims had a very good history, etc. Okay, Bahruddin, Saturday afternoon here in the USA. Allahu Akbar, mashallah, mashallah, ahlan wa sahlan. Ullu kapatta, Mufti Saab, long time. I know, bro. Loving the hair, thank you very much, Jazakallah khair. Have you seen The Messiah yet? Yeah, I've watched many of the episodes. I think it can mess with people's mind whose iman is not strong. Again, any film can mess with someone's iman. If someone watches Superman, or if someone watches Karate Kid even, it can mess up with someone's mind if their iman is not strong. And I think Muslims have to be mature when they watch these kind of things, sensible, and not take their faith from these things. We should never ever take our faith from these shows or dramas. And like I said, those people who watch it and think that they're going to be learning about their faith through this, and this is the Dajjal, and this is how he's going to come, and this is what he's going to do, I think they really need to get their heads checked. Bahruddin, awesome, Jazakallah khair, thank you very much. Why now? This is perfect. A bit of CC and a bit of Q&A. I'm sure I gave this idea. Maybe you did. Dayam Hussain, I just want to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah for the sake of Allah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, look up at that. If a Brailvi and Salafi were arguing, whose side would you be on? I'd be so lazy I probably wouldn't even listen to the argument. Yeah, I'm not into arguments. I don't get involved in any debates and arguments. And if you probably followed me on Facebook or social media, if anyone starts an argument in my comments, I do not respond. Yeah, I'm the last person to respond. I don't think there's any benefit in responding in arguments, in debates. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam. Najib Khan, Jazakallah khair for your time and effort. May Allah Ta'ala reward you in accordance with His grace and majesty. Ameen. Jazakallah. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm really enjoying this method. Fair for everyone. It means we don't have to wait forever for live questions being answered. Allahu Akbar. This method is better because who asks the questions on YouTube don't wait for an hour. I personally enjoy the interaction of YouTube questions. Jazakallah khair. Najib Khan, I wanted to know to what extent do we need to maintain family relationships? Someone I know has a very fractured relationship with their siblings, and on occasions they end up having very bad fights. Yeah, in these kind of situations, what I would say, look, if they are causing harm and they are not showing any sort of form of reconciliation, then you don't have to continue trying to make up with them. But if there is possibility and it's just some sort of like stubbornness or arrogance on either side, then maybe the person should continue trying to reconcile. And reconcile can just be maybe giving salam. Doesn't have to be kind of groveling at their feet. So in a lot of these kind of situations, like non-Muslims have this as well, where they break up with their brothers or sisters, or they don't talk to them for a long time, or their parents. It's a human thing, unfortunately. So it just requires some sort of like human intervention. Is zakat applicable to provenant funds amount? So exactly how does the fund work? Yeah, how does the fund exactly work? If you can give me details of the fund, then I can probably answer it accordingly. According to the Sunnah, when is the correct time to recite Surah Al-Kahf? Should it be recited after Maghrib on Thursday? So, I mean, generally Friday. Friday would, but you can recite it from Maghrib anytime Friday, all the way till the end of Friday. Yeah, so the Hadith just mentions Friday. So if you take that, then Friday starts from Maghrib on Thursday and finishes on Maghrib on Friday. Okay, it's like a tea bag. Yes, like a tea bag, like a metal tea bag. Where did you purchase it from? Online. So if you go online, you'll find on eBay or Amazon. Where are your bookcases from? So these bookcases are actually, well, this one is actually, my mum bought it from somewhere a long time ago. I can't remember where, but she bought two and she had them and I took it off her. But this one over here, this is actually from IKEA. It's quite a good one. This is quite deep. Not a lot of fat, it's only to look smart. Doctors said the process isn't harmful in any way. Yeah, in that case then, yeah, you can do it. Okay, men will have whips like cows' tails and will be hitting with them. What does this hadith mean? Again, this is a hadith which it's not very categorical exactly in its meaning. It could mean maybe they will have some sort of like, maybe guns, they're referring to guns. A whip is like the gun. Yeah, maybe they're referring to tasers. Maybe they're referring to like literal whips that they'll be using to whip people. Maybe it's something else. After finishing salah with 2 salams, is it sunnah to wipe the face with your hands? After finishing salat? No. I mean, not to my knowledge. After finishing the salah to wipe your face? No. After dua, if you do dua, it's considered mustahab to wipe your face. The verse La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha, does it have to do with deen or dunya? An example? Yes, it's got to do with deen, not dunya. It's got to do with deen. Basically, in the deen, Allah will never burden human beings to do something in religion which is too much for them. Like Allah will never tell them to worship Allah by doing something which is beyond human capacity. Yeah, for instance, like having to worship Allah on the sea. Allah wouldn't tell people to do that. It's just beyond human capacity. Or Allah would not tell someone to worship Him by, tearing their skin apart, etc. Okay, ما رأيك عن الإمام الذي يبين الأحكام التي متعلقة بالوطء في ضوء القرآن والسنة وكتب الفقهية على واتساب فيسبوك هنا أيضا كيف يبين؟ نعم، ممكن. نعم، في مجال. مثل هذه الأحكام الناس ممكن يحتاجون إلى معرفة هذه الأحكام، فلا بأس سواء كان عبر الاتصالات الواتساب أو بطريق فيسبوك ويوتيوب. ليس فيه أي مشكلة. ولكن ينبغي أن يلاحظ فيه الحدود. نعم، ويبين بخوف من الله سبحانه وتعالى أن لا يبين الأمور حيث يستحي منه الناس. I was reading a paper on Hanafi approach towards usul, and the writer said that this is a misconception that Imam Hanifa had a criteria of a transmitter being a faqih before his report could be accepted. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, it was the approach taken by later Hanafis, and Abu Hanifa and others verifiers of the madhab didn't have this condition. So Abu Hanifa didn't explicitly say this condition. This is actually mentioned by Isa ibn Aban. It's supposed to be Isa ibn Aban was the first one that came out with this. But what he's basically arguing, Isa ibn Aban, is that if you look at Abu Hanifa, the way he used to kind of look at certain narrations, it's very, very likely that some of the narrators, he would look at this kind of like issue of whether he was a faqih or not. That's what he's arguing. So we don't have anything explicit from Abu Hanifa on this. Okay, is oral sex allowed in Islam? So like I mentioned before, the problem with oral sex is the fluids entering the body. So these haram fluids, semen is impure according to Hanafis, and preseminal fluid. So therefore, this is something which should not be swallowed at all. Yeah. So if it is done through some sort of contraception where it's going to prevent the fluids from entering the mouth or being swallowed, then there's scope for it. Okay. Salam Ustad Umar. Zahir Akhtar, wa alaikum assalam. To download hadith from Google, what is the best way to find out which one right hadith? I mean, I don't really prefer people who don't know, haven't studied hadith to download hadith, because sometimes what can happen is very confusing. You could read a hadith and misconstrue the hadith, misunderstand what the hadith is saying. So I wouldn't really encourage it. Do you like Turkish coffee? Yeah, I like Turkish coffee. Yeah, do you like Turkish coffee? ما الحكم عن ضرب الأطفال لإصلاحهم أن لا يقبلوا نصيحتنا؟ نعم، يعني جوزه الفقهاء ولكنهم منعوا من أن يبقى على جسم الولد أثر، ويتقي الوجه، لا يضرب الوجه ولا يضرب الأماكن الحساسة. Do you drink from clay cups as it is close to Sunnah? No. I don't think they used to drink from clay cups in the Sahaba days. Allah knows best. They used to drink from different types of things. Clay cups and wooden and stone. I mean, plates are ceramic, aren't they? They're made from clay. They just got a bit of like some sort of decoration on them. Okay, Ultimate Challenger game. When somebody dies, are you allowed to make dua at the grave? Some people say you shouldn't make dua. Somebody say you should. Yeah, there's ikhtilaf in there. There's ikhtilaf. Some say you should, some say you shouldn't. So whichever opinion you take is totally fine. I mean, I personally don't have an issue with making dua. I have a friend who wishes to invite you to a Mawlid. He asked, what is your rate for a talk? I mean, I don't mind. Depends if I'm free on that date. I mean, I would go. And it depends where it is actually. Yeah. And rate, I mean, usually I just ask the person to cover the charges of the amount of time that I take out. Yeah, traveling there and back. That's it. Whatever's munasib, whatever's appropriate for that kind of. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Zaba. I wanted to find out about inheritance laws. Can you direct me to a book or a good source? So if you go to my website, or to my YouTube channel rather, there's a series I've done on inheritance. Check that out. Yeah, I haven't completed it, but there's like a lot of good stuff in there that will benefit you. How should we take as Muslims on the calamities of Iran and USA? I don't know. Allah knows. Allah is not going to ask you about Iran and USA, inshallah. What is meaning of men are maintainers of women? So this basically means men are maintainers of women. It means that the men, the husbands, are the ones who are given the duty of providing for their families and protecting them. Yeah, so this is like a man's responsibility. Yeah, so Islamically, a man would be held responsible if he didn't protect his family, if he didn't financially provide for his family. And the women are not legally bound to do that. Women do not have to go and work and earn for the family, or women don't have to protect the family. Okay, Ma'had, why is there so much difference, especially in UK, on moon sightings, and what is your opinion on this? I mean, it all goes down to people, accepting ikhtilaf. I think a lot of people, they don't see that in Islam there is lots of scope for accepting different opinions, and a lot of people, they seem to think that there's only one valid opinion and everyone else is invalid. I think that's the main kind of thing. So if people learn that the ikhtilaf, difference of opinion, is actually something which is a good thing and is something that we should tolerate in many cases, then Bob's your uncle, solve the problem there. In reality, we should generally try to have unity in the United Kingdom. So I think if they create a body, an overall body for everyone, for Deobandi, Brailvi, Salafi, they create like a body and say, look, we're gonna, just for unity, we're gonna follow one opinion. Yeah, I think that would be the best thing. But the problem is, who's gonna start agreeing with that? Okay, if this our books review, please. We didn't have one last time. Oh yeah, I heard that some Hanafi scholars like Sarakhsi and Ibn al-Humam said that the apostate is only killed if he rebels against state, but isn't ijma that the apostate is killed? Yeah, so a lot of the scholars do mention that it's hiraba. In other words, they mention the apostasy under the chapter of causing rebellion in the society. Yeah, so that is a very strong argument that they use. Yeah, so I mean, the whole point of why is the apostate killed seems to go down to his abrasiveness. In other words, his kind of courage of coming out in the community and telling everyone he doesn't believe in Allah and that he's proud of it, and he's encouraging other people to do this. That's the whole issue. It's like this kind of open crime you're committing. But if someone was secretly, behind closed doors, didn't make it public that they don't believe in God, they carried on their life, they didn't believe in God. In Islamic fiqh, no one would, the courts wouldn't do anything to them. Okay, Khan introduced a guna tax that's what the tax was actually called on a few acts, including smoking. A lot of people criticize him for that. Is the term guna tax problematic? I mean, it depends exactly. Sometimes a name might not be an issue. Maybe it's like depending on what he kind of. It's like in the UK, you have tax on alcohol and cigarettes and these kind of things. And just to call it like something which is guna, maybe it might be problematic. It sounds a bit kind of strange, doesn't it, that you're kind of taxing people for this. Okay, Muslim women are working nowadays. Isn't a woman's duty to stay at home and educate her kids? Not necessarily. No, it's not her duty to stay at home. I mean, if her husband wants her to stay at home, that's a separate thing. But it's not her duty to stay at home. Jazakallah khair, you're welcome. Are ladies allowed to enter the graveyard? Yes. Thank you, you're welcome. Wa alaikum assalam, Sharif. Muslims will be considered shaheed if killed by bandits, robbers, etc., saying they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. I understand it was Allah's qadr. Yeah, so that's what comes in narrations. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned about those who are, that the ultimate shaheed is the one who dies in the battlefield, right, before getting treated. And then anyone else after that is considered a secondary shaheed. So someone like the Prophet ﷺ in Hadith, there's about 59 different types of non-military shaheeds. Yeah, non-battle shaheeds. Okay, alhamdulillah, finished all the questions. Excellent. We did it all within 2 hours this time. Okay, there's some more questions on. Okay, is one piece of chain removed from Dajjal every year? I don't know. I haven't really met Dajjal to know this. There's nothing in narrations. Is the island Dajjal is on the Mediterranean Sea or in the Arabian Sea? Allah knows best, man. Allah knows best. Right, look, when I get Dajjal's number, I will first and foremostly ask him these questions. I do not know. I mean, there's nothing in narrations regarding this. Okay, who built the monastery that Dajjal is in? I don't think it was Birmingham City Council. Yeah, it must have been someone else. Allah knows the best. I don't know who this person's very fascinated with Dajjal and wants to know all the details. Unfortunately, we don't have all the details from Hadith. So a lot of things people are speculating. What is the Alam al-Mithal? Is that a different realm? And is Island Dajjal? So basically, we don't know how many realms there are. So there's the realm of the angels. And then within the angels, we don't know how many realms are within the angels. There could be like different realms. Some angels don't even know that other angels exist. There could be whole, thousands of realms. And likewise, realms of jinn. And then there's realms that we live in. And then there's, realms that other creatures could live in. So we don't know. Allah knows best. So Alam al-Mithal is considered to be, according to some of the scholars, this realm in which there is like this, everything that exists in this world, like there exists this kind of like a projection that exists over there, a projection. So that's what they usually refer to as Alam Mithal, this projection realm, where it's like everything is like symbolic, a symbolic realm. So in this realm, we consider it the physical realm, but then that would be symbolic. Okay. Alright, so let's check this one out. Sub to my yet if you love Roots of Knowledge, Fang Gaming. What's your view on Hussam al-Haramain? I haven't read it. I have not read Sam al-Haramain. Okay, was Abu Hanifa named after his daughter? Allah knows best. I mean, according to authentic reports, no. Yeah, he did have a daughter called Hanifa. And some say Hanifa in Iraqi dialect. 9 in for sure, or if else, I don't know. I don't know what you've written there. What's your opinion on women and men working in the households? Yeah, I mean, if they need to, then it's fine. I mean, sometimes husband and wife both need to work to be able to, buy a house or something, or if they need to, yeah, it's fine. What's your opinion on women? What is the punishment if there is for publicly insulting the Prophet ﷺ or Islam? I mean, according to Hanafis, then the person is not killed. The Hanafis are not the strictest in this masala. Hanafis say the person should be locked up, and the person should, if it's obviously apostasy, then that's a separate issue. But for that particular crime, he's not killed. He's actually given the chance to explain himself and made to understand and told of the severity of what he's been saying. Have you heard of namaz wahshat at the qabr? Namaz wahshat qabr. No, I haven't heard of it. What's that? Have you heard of namaz wahshat? Okay, ha. Have you heard of namaz wahshat the qabr? I haven't heard of it, bro. Right. Stitched linen sheets, are they okay for shroud if nothing else is found? Yeah, it's fine. Basically, the cloth should be a simple cloth wrapped around the body, top bar and bottom part. إن كان حج واجب على الرجل في الماضي هل يجب عليه أن يحصل الدين لأداء الحج إذا لا يكون مال عنده في هذه السنة؟ نعم. يعني يبقى على ذمته، فعليه أن أو يحاول أن يجمع المال لكي يؤدي الحج. Mahad, wa alaikum jazakumullah khair for answering my question today. May Allah bless you. Ameen. Oh, the Dajjal questions. Yeah, so I see a lot of these kind of Dajjal questions. I think people, they like a lot of detail. Yeah, they love detail. So what tends to happen is they don't realize that the hadith, the authentic hadith regarding Dajjal are just a handful. And so, we can't really kind of like between the lines, we can't invent stuff. Unfortunately, we can't do that. We just got to tell people exactly what was said in the hadith. What is the ruling of watching the Messiah on Netflix as it makes mockery of Jesus and Dajjal, end of times? I mean, someone might see this. I think this is a little has to be addressed maybe, because Quran, for example, mentions about how they mocked the prophets. So we're allowed to read Quran. There's many hadith which mention how the mushrikeen used to mock the Prophet ﷺ, and as they mock the Sahaba, but we're still allowed to read those. There's also many examples of poetry of people who used to mock, mushrikeen, who used to mock the idea of Tawheed, or Christians that used to mock. So this idea of, are we allowed to read literature that's been written by someone who is non-Muslim and they're writing something which is non-Islamic? Are we allowed to read that? So there's nothing wrong with it. Like the Prophet ﷺ, when the Sahaba came to him in Medina and they said to him that the Jews are translating their works for us in Arabic on the streets. So they're giving a public dars of the Torah in Medina. Are we allowed to attend those dars? He said, yeah, it's fine. He goes, but remember this. He says, لا تصدقوا ولا تكذبوا. Don't believe them, but don't say they're wrong. ولكن قولوا آمنا بالذي أنزل إلينا وأنزل إليكم. But we believe in that which has been revealed to us and revealed to you. So this is how Muslims should deal with with all stories. That when we hear a story, we don't have to believe it, and nor do we have to deny it. But if it clearly goes against our teachings, then obviously we deny it. Okay, these kind of statements. Promoting these kind of things, promoting these beliefs is prohibited. We can't promote something which is non-Islamic. So something which is against Islam, against Islam, we can't promote those. But to read about it, to watch it or something, then a lot of things, a lot of the movies, Hollywood movies, a lot of Bollywood movies are non-Islamic in sense that they go against Islam. Is it permissible to wear chains, dog tags? I heard is still imitating women. I don't know. Wallahu alam. Can we do the next episode together? I'll stay off screen, just sipping tea. Yeah, actually, you know what? Might be a good idea. Look at that. Yeah. May Allah Ta'ala bless you. Okay, can we substitute the camphor with soap and doing ghusl body? Yes, you can. Have you ever personally married a Muslim man with a Christian or Jewish lady? No, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't done it. No. Okay, let's just see if there's anyone else past the question here. Did Sulaiman alayhi salam chain up the Dajjal? Inshallah, on the Day of Judgment, Sulaiman alayhi salam is going to be there. We can go and ask him. I have no idea. There's no narration in my knowledge about this. Is Sattar a name of Allah? Yeah, As-Sattar, the Sattar is. Are those who die in infancy squeezed in the grave as well? The hadith that mentions the squeezing when someone is buried. Good question. I mean, generally I would say that anyone who is not mukallaf would be free of this experience. Yeah, so someone who's not mukallaf, this would only be for mukallafs, anyone who was legally responsible for the actions. In Hanafi fiqh, women over 55 who bleed constantly in menopause, what is the ruling? What is the bleeding classed as? Also, constant bleeding non-stop under the age of 55, is that ruling? So menopause Islamically is when bleeding stops. So when bleeding stops, right, which is about 60 years old, when they reach about 60. So if before 60 they're still bleeding, it's considered as hayd. Yeah, it's considered as hayd. And if it's menopause, if after menopause, after 60 they're bleeding, then you consider it as dysfunctional bleeding. So istihada. So then they just perform wudu for every salat. Do you advise marrying an alima? It all depends. It all depends. Yeah. The thing is, people think, for example, marrying an alim, every woman should marry an alim, and some women are just crazy about, I want to marry an alim, mashallah, I'm going to go Jannah, and he's going to read fiqh books to me and hadith books to me to sleep. No, that doesn't happen, guy. Most likely, if you marry an alim, you're probably going to rarely see him at home, because he's going to be busy in teaching, he's going to be busy in traveling places, giving talks. Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people who are married to alims, they know this. Yeah, and a lot of them find it difficult, because what happens is their husbands will get a lot of attention from other people, and the husbands don't have time to give attention at home. That unfortunately can happen. Same with the women, the alima. Yeah, maybe the alima might not be an alima. Maybe she's gone through a madrasa. If you're, say, a madrasa graduate, yeah, sometimes the madrasa graduate wasn't interested in studying the alim course. Maybe she hasn't really kind of like got the character, the right character for the ilm. Yeah, maybe she was like forced by her parents to study. And maybe she was studied on her own accord, who knows. So sometimes what happens is, I've seen in so many cases where a guy married an alima, and he thought that, she's going to be very pious and tahajjud and this and that, and then eventually worked out that she was not interested in deen, and she was forced by her parents to study. And then she was like, she had the name alima, everyone saw as alima, but in reality was, she was a kind of nightmare for him, and they broke up. But sometimes the opposite can happen. She could be very pious and the husband's not willing to be at her level. Okay, is non-surgical nose procedure allowed if someone is paranoid about their looks and picked on, affecting their self-esteem? Yeah, possibly. Depends on the person, on their nose shape and everything. But if it's considered to be like, some people have a hooked nose, or it's a bit too big, or something like that, then I would say that person should speak to a scholar. And if the scholar sees that, look, it seems as though that their nose is a bit different, then yeah. Is it not haram in the lands of non-Muslims to marry a Christian Jew? Some scholars have said that, yeah. Some scholars have said that in non-Muslim lands, they shouldn't marry. Because then the likelihood of them not bringing up their children upon Islam is going to be strong. Up until what age must a woman wear hijab? Up until what age must a woman wear? Until all her life? Yeah, all her life, hijab. I mean, the hijab is only worn in two situations: when the woman's praying salat, and when she's in front of other non-family men. أي أسماء من أسماء الحسنى يسمى عبد قبله. عبد يعني عبد تقصد يعني كلها but وخاصة الله والرحمن. But for a lot of people, they go through menopause between 40 and 60 years. It varies from person to person, but normally the books of fiqh say 60 years old. Yeah, they say 60 years old is menopause, and so it's basically like roughly at that age. So it can be from case to case. Alhamdulillah. Finished all this, guys. Jazakallah khair. Very nice session, I think. Should every masjid have an imam's room that people, men and women, can visit and book, like surgery hours for Messiah, etc.? My local doesn't have this and has no sense of confidentiality. And if you want to ask the imam something, it's in the Jamaat Khana in full view of others. Yeah, I think it makes sense to have some private room or something where they should have this. See, the problem is people think that the guys who build mosques are the most, experienced, intelligent people of the community. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Usually the guys that build the mosque are like someone who's got a passion to build a mosque and has no idea of how to run a mosque, has no idea of what kind of imam they should bring and what skills the imam should have, etc. And in a lot of cases, the imams are not well equipped to be able to advise people as well. Like, just because someone's qualified from a madrasa doesn't mean that he's qualified to answer people's questions. And a lot of people think that every imam in a mosque is automatically qualified to answer my questions. And sometimes the imam of a mosque is she's only really good at reciting the Quran and basic kind of issues. How come all ladies in Pakistan don't cover their hair? I think they think hijab when old is not fard. Yeah, if they become very old, then the rules of hijab become a bit lighter for them. Yeah, so like shaking their hands is allowed. If they kiss you, it's allowed, because there's no fear of any sort of like sexual lust. So some scholars have mentioned that. Which name should one avoid to keep? Names that are bad meaning names. An amazing session after a long day with Zab. You didn't give me credit for my ideas. Yes, all credit goes to Why Now. I'll inshallah email you the screenshot and then I can ask for a prize. Allahu Akbar. Okay, let's have a look at a book then. Alright, so our book for today. Let me see. I don't know really. Okay, so this is a good book. This is called Birgawi's Manual Interpreted. So this is basically to do with women's issues, menstruation and postnatal bleeding. And this is actually, original book is an Hanafi book in Arabic, right? And it's been translated into English by Hidayah Hartford and Ashraf Munib, husband and wife. Hidayah Hartford's a revert, Ashraf Munib. And she's translated this in English. It's very nice, very good. I personally, I'm not really too keen on the order and everything of it, and that's why I kind of like made my own series on menstruation. But this is the Birkawi's approach to explaining. So in the Hanafi school, there's various approaches of explaining menstruation. Like, there's not one approach. This is the Birkawi's approach. So I actually made a series, and I think I'm going to make another proper full one on Birkawi's approach of the Hanafi fiqh and the masail of menstruation, right, with all charts and everything and how to calculate it, etc. And I usually teach my students that it takes me, in class, it takes me about a week or so to explain it all. And by the end of it, students can work out any masala of menstruation. So this is a very good book if anyone basically wants to kind of look at this book, yeah, and have a read of it. It's called Birgawi's Manual. Yeah, it's well known, and it's in English. English is very good. And if you look, she's actually at the end, she's done some charts. I've read through this several times, and I like it. I've learnt quite a lot of things from here as well, of how to explain Hayd. But the only thing is, I'm not really keen, because a lot of people have studied this from her. She teaches as well online. So I got some students who've studied online from her, but I don't think, her method is very, very kind of like easy to follow. It's not for everyone. But me and my methods of teaching and coming out with new methods, yeah, all you guys know how I like to reinvent methods of teaching. Can you believe the Queen still drives at 20? Yeah, I saw that video. Was it really her? Was it photoshopped? Yeah, she looked quite good at driving, Or maybe it's like one of those fake ones that she's turning the steering wheel, but really someone else is driving on the other side. One of those ones. So this Twitter, in Surah Baqarah, the words Summun Bukun Umyun, someone named their triplets that because they like how it sounded, not caring about meaning. Yeah, you'd be surprised, people come out with some strange names just because they're fashionable. Yeah, you'll hear, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Yeah, detailed course on menstruation. Yeah, inshallah. So I'm thinking about maybe, I've got one that I've done. It's on my uruku.com, but I'm thinking about doing one in more detail and more, because I was actually working on an app for menstruation a while back. It was basically going to be an app. If you see these kind of menstruation apps where a woman just puts in her details saying that her bleeding started and stopped, and then after a few months it works out a pattern for her, and then the app's designed to tell her when she's supposed to take a bath, what if she sees spotting, puts it in, and the app will tell her whether she prays or not, or if this spotting is valid or not. So I actually designed the whole thing, all the algorithms and everything for it, and me and this guy were developing it, and then unfortunately the guy didn't really get back to me, so it was put on the back burner. So that was the app. The app was designed for that. It was supposed to be an app, and the aim was to make it a free app for all women around the world, according to the Birgavi's method, Hanafi method of menstruation. And then the idea was to get like a Shafi version of it, Maliki version of it, Hanbali version of it. And then all a woman does is just put the details in, and if she misses fast, it kind of calculates for her the days that she's missed. It tells her when the next menstruation is going to start and how many days can last for, etc. Those kind of things. So yeah, I was working on that. Maybe inshallah in the future, I don't know. Maybe I can restart that again. That's a good book. It goes well with menstruation course of Abdul Rahman, where he teaches the commentary of Birgis Manual by Ibn Abidin called Manhal al-Waridin. Yeah, Manhal al-Waridin is basically the commentary of Birgavis. Do you believe in any conspiracy theories? I don't know. I like conspiracy theories. I like, kind of discussing them, but I'm not too kind of fascinated in kind of coming out with them. So I like kind of listening to conspiracy theories, especially like if you watch Joe Rogan's podcasts. Anyone watch that? What do you think of Meghan and Harry abdicating from being the royal family? Yeah, I think it's just drama, man. Drama. Yeah, just some drama. British people need this kind of drama. British people don't have drama in their lives. They need this. Last question: is it permissible to marry a non-Muslim woman? According to Hanafis, a man is allowed to marry a Christian woman or a Jewish woman, but this should only be according to many of the muftis, only in an Islamic country, not in non-Islamic country. That's a good idea. You should develop the app. Yeah, inshallah, make dua. Reposting demonstration when traveling for Umrah, is it allowed? Advise wasn't possible during the time of Sahaba. Yeah, so yes, they can go for Umrah. If a woman's got menstruation, she can go for Umrah, everything. And the only thing she can't do is do tawaf in the masjid. She can do sa'i, but she can't do tawaf. So if she knows she can't stay there for enough time for her menstruation to stop, she goes in the masjid, and then that's when she's allowed to do tawaf in the state of menstruation and do the sa'i and everything. And then because of a menstruation, she slaughters an animal. So she gives like a slaughtering of an animal in Mecca, which would make up for that kind of, it's like a compensation for it. So she compensates that menstruation, the lack of being in the state of doing tawaf, with the slaughtering, and it's fine. Do you think Manhal is a good commentary? I don't like Birgavi's. The thing is, Sheikh Yusuf bin Nur Rahimahullah says the hardest topic in the whole of fiqh is menstruation, because men are talking about a topic that they've never experienced in their life. This is the reality of it. So this is why I think the way I designed the menstruation course was basically, it's just a very, very straightforward. It doesn't go into ikhtilafs or anything. It just gives you rules, and it just gives you how to apply it. And straight away you're applying the rules, and then you got all these kind of tables that you work out. And by the end of it, most of my students, if you give them any sort of calculation, they can quickly just work it out. That's how I've designed it. It's just basic for that. So Manhal al-Waridin is good, but if you want to go into the intricacies, the details, the ikhtilafs, and all that kind of stuff, yeah. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They're not into that. All they want to know is by calculation. I don't want to work out, the mathematical formulas for it. I just want to know is what formula do you use for this. The tablets used cause the period to be disrupted thereafter. Yeah, that's the issue with tablets. So I try to tell women not to use tablets when they go on these kind of things, because then it just spoils their whole routine. their periods, and then it just causes confusion later on for them. So all they have to do is simply just go for Umrah. And if they can't, I mean, a lot of women, they want to enter the haram and all that kind of stuff. So, for them, maybe, yeah. What book of Aqidah did you teach in your Dars Nizami and Ifta course? So, books of Aqidah that we normally cover are Aqidah, we cover Aqidah Tahawiyah, we cover Aqidah Nasafiyah, Fiqh al-Akbar, and then some hashiyas on Ilm al-Kalam. Yeah. Okay, Kitab al-Tawheed by Ibn Abdul Wahhab. No, we haven't studied. I've read that, but I haven't studied it. Okay. Kitab al-Tawheed by Abu Mansur Maturidi, you mean? No, I haven't studied Kitab al-Tawheed by Maturidi. A Muslim killed by robbers, bandits, etc., they be shaheed in dunya and akhirah. Yeah, they considered to be shaheed in the akhirah. Akhirah, they call akhirah shaheed. So in the dunya, they'll be given a bath, they'll be given janazah, etc. Anyway, guys, jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much for another beautiful session today. MashaAllah. Again, all you guys glued to the screens. Yeah, instead of watching the Messiah, you're watching me. Has anyone watched the Messiah here? You guys, anyone watched it? Ya Allah. I think my dad's probably watched it 2 or 3 times, the whole series. Yeah. He kind of tells me what happens in there as well. So, jazakumullah khair, guys. Thank you very much. And inshallah, next week, same time, same place. Hopefully, I don't have anything on next week. Sometimes I have a talk. No, okay, inshallah, should be okay next week. Yeah. So, jazakumullah khair. And let me know, inshallah, what you guys think of the Kanz series. So you guys think the setup of the Kanz series okay? Yeah, that's how it's going to be basically. Some of you guys were saying that you should have the Arabic on the screen as well at the same time. I don't know, I mean, are you guys into that? The thing is, I don't want to go too deep in the commentary of Kanz, because a matan you should never go deep into a matan. This is a big mistake that I personally think a lot of people make when they're teaching a text, and they just kind of like, for example, Kanz, they'll explain the whole of Bahr Raik in the text. They'll explain the whole of Nahar. And I think for people studying a text for the first time, they should never do that. If you want to study Bahr Raik, you study Bahr Raik separately. Yeah, so, I think that's basically... The Messiah is actually quite boring and slow, not much fun. Jazakallah khair, Ma'had. Alright, guys, so take care, inshallah, and I will see you guys next time. And yeah, so these are the mugs. Yeah, I've seen these mugs. Yeah, these are Roots of Knowledge pen. Yeah, Roots of Knowledge pen. Roots of Knowledge mug. Yeah, and Roots of Knowledge notebooks. These are some notebooks, nice, neat notebooks. This is the merch, guys, future merch. Future merch. Alright, guys, so take care, inshallah. Remember your du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.